How often does your state lawmaker fail to show up when the legislature is in session at the state capitol?
Well, if you live in the 112th State House District in Lackawanna County, your representative has missed every vote and every committee meeting in Harrisburg since late July. Newswatch 16 investigative reporter Dave Bohman is live asking the question tonight. Where's Kevin Haggerty? Dave.
Scott, Charlotte Democratic State Representative Kevin Haggerty missed just one day of votes in Harrisburg for the first 7 months of the year. But since then, he's been a no-show at the state capitol for his $82,000 a year job. Tuesday morning, October 17th, at the state capitol in Harrisburg. Pennsylvania state representatives enter the House chamber for the daily roll call. 188 lawmakers show up, 14 do not, including Representative Kevin Haggerty of Dunmore.
He has routinely requested leave, and he has been on leave, I believe, since July.
State Representative Michael Hanna of Center County is the Democratic Party Minority Whip.
My job is to get members here and make sure we have them for votes.
The votes. Following the August recess, Newswatch 16 Investigates tracked the attendance of all 202 state representatives. 122, including most lawmakers from our area, have not missed a single vote. Another 49 have an attendance record of at least 90%. 28 showed up for between 50 and 90% of the votes. 2 others have an attendance rate of between 40 and 50%. But Representative Haggerty has not been present for a single vote in the past 2 months.
We can ask them why they're not here, but ultimately I'm not their boss. The folks back home are their boss. So he has not given me a reason why he hasn't been here.
During the last 2 months, Representative Haggerty missed 2 major votes on the proposed state budget, a bill to raise the hotel tax, and a plan to toughen fines for careless drivers. Haggerty was absent for a total of 123 votes.
Come on, Kevin, you have to, you have to do what's right. That isn't right.
Sylvia Passeri credits Representative Haggerty for getting a $35,000 state grant to help build a monument to coal miners in Blakely. But she can't believe he's not showing up to vote in Harrisburg, a part of his job that pays $82,000 a year.
And I would show up for the vote making that much money.
I think it's a joke. If I tried to do the same, I'd be out of a job and out of a home.
We try to get a comment from Representative Haggerty, starting at his office in Einan. Just wondering if Representative Haggerty's here today.
No, he isn't.
Is he in Harrisburg?
He's at his Dunmore office, I believe.
So we went to his office in Dunmore a few minutes later. It was locked up at 11:45 a.m. When we visited his office in Harrisburg, no one was in. We ran into a couple of fellow lawmakers who were.
Hasn't showed up to vote since July.
I don't know anything. I haven't seen him actually.
So I can't speculate, but I'm assuming he's not available for comment.
Representative Haggerty has a history of missed votes. He was absent for 181 during his first term as a state representative in 2013 and 14. And this fall, as he missed those 123 votes in Harrisburg, Haggerty's own Facebook page shows he hosted an opioid symposium in Oliphant, spoke in his district at a remembrance for those who died in the September 11th terror attacks, and even posed for pictures with a former boxing champion in Jessup. But he did not go to Harrisburg to vote.
We encourage people to be here. We see this as probably the most important part of their job.
The State House went back into session today, and Kevin Haggerty was not present again. After our repeated attempts to get a response from Representative Haggerty, he emailed us a statement, but he did not address his missed votes in Harrisburg. You can read his full statement by clicking on this story on WNEP.com. Dave Bohman, Newswatch 16. Irish Sweeps of Scranton took the company and its owner to court for what they call shoddy and dangerous work on their chimneys. The customers we talked with say they wish they checked out the company before hiring it. Winter days and nights can be frigid, then balmy, then cold again within a week. The contraction and expansion that leads to cracked roads and potholes can also lead to cracked chimneys.
I didn't know a lot about chimneys.
Joe Yasinski's chimney needed repairs in 2012. He hired Irish Sweeps to install this liner that now snakes across his backyard in Oliphant.
My chimney is 26.5 feet. This one is only 25 feet.
His chimney now has a new, different liner inside. He says the 1.5 foot shortfall on this old liner led to a blockage.
And that could have filled my house up completely with smoke, with carbon monoxide.
In Edwardsville, Sean Wolf has to seal off the chimney atop his home. Smoke from his furnace now leaves a vent on the side of his home. He says he made the change after workers from Irish Sweeps only put 4 feet of liner in his 30-foot chimney. It resulted in a chimney clogged with ash buildup.
Carbon monoxide was coming into the basement and into my attic, and that had been going on for months.
These two homeowners in Luzerne and Lackawanna counties are among 6 who took Irish Sweeps and owner Daniel Brennan to court over the past 5 years. In every single case, customers won.
Still can't collect.
I would love to have the money back that I believe is owed to me.
Joe Yasinskis even called the Better Business Bureau because his bill indicates Irish Sweeps is a member. But the BBB's website gives Irish Sweeps an F rating.
Not an F rating, no.
Yes, you have an F
No,
rating.
it's not an F rating. I can call them up right now.
That's Irish Sweeps owner Daniel Brennan. We called the BBB confirming his F rating. We also found out Brennan has never been a BBB member. We asked Brennan why he's not paying court-ordered judgments to customers like Joe Yasinskis.
I asked him for an apology. He said no.
But the law doesn't require an apology. The law judge said you pay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will pay, Mr. Yasinskis.
Brennan's business card and his truck claim Irish Sweeps is licensed. It's fully licensed and insured.
Fully licensed and insured.
Your license expired with the state's
I'm not doing any more work. I'm not doing no more work. My business is closed.
When did you go out of business?
A year and a half ago.
Not in business for a year and a half? Maureen Schell of Clark Summit told Newswatch 16 she paid Brennan $1,400 last spring to fix the chimney on her home in Clark Summit.
When he first came over, I had a feeling he was a wheeler dealer, but I didn't think he was dishonest.
She says Brennan took her money and never showed up to fix her chimney. Prosecutors charged Brennan with felony fraud, but dismissed the case in June when Brennan paid Maureen Schell a refund.
I don't know how the man sleeps at night.
Sean Wolf wishes his case against Irish Sweeps was a criminal, not a civil matter. He says Brennan's work was so bad, tests showed high levels of carbon monoxide in his home.
It could have killed me. I find that indifference to life.
Wolf won a court judgment of $7,600. In Oliphant, Joe Yasinskis says he spent about $1,100 to hire another company to fix Irish Sweeps' mistakes.
I'd also hope that no one else out there falls victim the way that I did to him.
The home contractor rating site Angie's List warns homeowners know very little about chimneys and chimney repair. That's just another reason to research these businesses. Like the Better Business Bureau, Angie's List customers give Irish Sweeps an F rating. The website tells Newswatch 16 less than 10% of chimney repair businesses in northeastern and central Pennsylvania have F ratings. Dave Bohman, Newswatch 16.
Interesting, Dave. Thank you.
Snow is.
Begin tonight with a Newswatch 16 investigative report. A volunteer fire company took itself out of the running for a $400,000 casino grant after Newswatch 16 investigates pointed out a potential conflict of interest. The man listed as a community sponsor for a grant to improve the fire station stood to make money from the fix-up. That is until it got the attention of Newswatch 16 investigative reporter Dave Bohman. He is here now with more. Dave.
Scott, paperwork shows former Wyoming Mayor Bob Boyer spearheaded the effort to get the grant. The Wyoming Hose Company's banquet hall lists him as a preferred caterer for wedding and other functions at the facility. And who is the preferred caterer? The owner of Boyer Brothers Barbecue, Bob Boyer. West Wyoming Hose Company number 1 is outgrowing its 32-year-old building on Shoemaker Avenue. Hose Company officials want to make more room for its growing fleet of ambulances, an upgraded heating and air conditioning system, and an expanded kitchen for the company's banquet hall.
I think it's well deserved if they put it in the right places.
The Hose Company hoped to land a $440,000 grant fueled by casino money to make the improvements. But the proposal actually came through neighboring Wyoming Borough. Officials there said they wanted to reward the Hose Company for providing the neighboring community ambulance service. Bob Boyer was Wyoming mayor at the time of the application. He was listed as the sponsor, but the host company also lists Boyer as the department's preferred caterer. And Boyer himself lists the host company's Shoemaker Avenue address as the address of his catering business.
That is a big conflict of interest. It should be going towards the money and the volunteer fire department.
That would look poorly on either the community or the fire company itself.
Newswatch 16 Investigates brought this apparent conflict to State Representative Aaron Coffer and State Senator John Udechak. As a result, both lawmakers said they considered pulling letters of support for the grant application. They didn't have to. The treasurer of the hose company wrote Newswatch 16 Investigates. In light of the information learned from WNEP, West Wyoming Hose Company number 1 has withdrawn its grant application. We want to be sure that our actions and the appearance of our actions are free from even the hint of impropriety.
I think it's the right thing to do. Looking at what could have been potential conflicts, it's certainly the better way of going about it.
They do have a worthy project. Stepping back because of a hint of impropriety, I think, is always wise.
Former Wyoming Mayor Bob Boyer would not comment on camera by phone. He said he did not see a conflict of interest because the expanded garage is primarily for ambulances and firefighting equipment. That's the focal point of the project. But hose company officials are moving on. They're saying they'll apply for the grant next year through West Wyoming Borough, not Wyoming. Senator Udechak and Representative Coffer say if that happens, they'll likely give the project their support. Dave Bohman, Newswatch 16.
Get tucked under your windshield wiper. No matter where it happens, you face a fine.
But thousands of people in northeastern and central Pennsylvania are not paying those fines. Some have run up an eye-opening number of unpaid tickets.
Newswatch 16 investigative reporter Dave Bohman joins us live with the results of his 2-month investigation, meter violations. Dave.
Scott, Charlotte, we looked at court records of the 5 area counties, the 5 largest area counties, and we found more than 30,000 unpaid parking tickets over the past 5 years. That has left people who actually put money in the meters or pay the fines when the meter expires feeling cheated. A weekday morning at Courthouse Square in downtown Scranton. Side street parking spaces are hard to find. Most who find a spot pay for the right to park for a short spell.
I do carry a whole pocket full of change to feed the meters all the time.
The last thing people like Jim Claffey want is a parking meter violation and a $10 fine if he pays up right away. And he always does.
And if it becomes known that I have any outstanding situations like that, I can get in a lot of trouble with the company I work for.
Enforcement is largely a matter of fairness. Most people feed the meters, and when the meter expires and they get tickets, most people pay the fines. But a Newswatch 16 investigation found more than 32,000 parking violations have gone unpaid in the past 5 years, most for expired parking meters. If ticketing agencies collected just $15 a ticket for the unpaid ones, it would net $500,000 for communities, parking authorities, or nonprofit agencies. More than half the total of parking citations in our area are written in the city of Scranton. And when people challenge or ignore the tickets, most cases head to Judge Alice Farrell's court on Washington Avenue. That includes the cases involving Alex Berta of Scranton, who works at the Lackawanna County Register of Wills office downtown. According to state records, Berta has 215 unpaid parking tickets in the past 5 years. How do you run up so many traffic tickets?
To be quite honest with you, I have no idea. That's why I'm here.
Berta has so many outstanding tickets, Judge Farrell issued a warrant for his arrest. Records show Berta has 91 parking violations in 2017 alone. For that, the judge ordered he pay more than $6,700 by December 16th. How do you feel about all this?
Well, I'm not happy. That's why I'm here. But again, I can't dispute something I don't have in hand. So until I do, there's nothing.
How many tickets do you think you have?
I have no idea.
Our check of court records shows Berta with the most violations of anyone in northeastern and central Pennsylvania. 88-year-old Aileen Freeman, second on the list with 159 tickets. She left Scranton a year ago. A car belonging to Hussein and Dora Elias have tickets in Scranton, but they live in Easton. We were unable to contact either the Eliases or Freeman. Go down the list a little more and you'll find Larry Moran Jr. and Paul Galante with tickets in Wilkes-Barre and Scranton. And they're both lawyers.
That's just unforgivable, because I'm homeless right now, and I just paid.
Dorothea Vance is mad. She recently moved to Scranton from Tennessee to look for work and housing. She lives out of her van for now.
If you're going to use the meter, you should pay.
Attorneys Moran and Galante said no to our request for an on-camera interview, but Galante credited Newswatch 16 for bringing the unpaid tickets to his attention, and Friday he paid almost $13,000 to erase the 84 unpaid tickets from his record. One community is cracking down. Wilkes-Barre started using the boot this year, a clamp keeping a car in place while the city will force scofflaws to pay $100 plus some or all of their unpaid fines.
Oh, it's becoming a big deterrent right now.
Wilkes-Barre recently collected $2,000 from a Wilkes University student who racked up dozens of tickets. Parking enforcement workers are targeting chronic violators.
So far, up to this date, we collected over $17,000 in fines. So you can see how well it's working, and that's just with one boot.
The program's so successful in Wilkes-Barre that parking enforcement there is considering a second boot. But most communities do not use a boot or a clamp on car wheels. We wanted to know if Scranton would consider it, considering its 16,000 unpaid tickets in the past 5 years. But officials with ABM, the nonprofit that handles parking enforcement in the city, did not return our calls. Dave Bohman, Newswatch 16, reporting live in Scranton.
Dave, thanks very much. You can read and watch more about. You may not be thinking about snow quite yet, but one city around here spent more than $1 million removing snow from its streets during the blizzard of 17.
And some taxpayers think City Hall spent too much. Newswatch 16 investigative reporter Dave Bohman joins us live with how one city made this $1 million storm. Dave?
Charla, Scott, Wilkes-Barre and Scranton share their names on an airport, a hockey, and a baseball team. But when it comes to paying for snow removal during March's blizzard, the smaller of these two cities spent about twice as much as the larger one. On Brogan Avenue in the Miners Mill section of Wilkes-Barre, autumn leaves partially covered the street. 6 months ago, so much snow covered the street, many were stuck in their homes for 4 days.
You'd have a pickup truck come through and give it a one-time plow, and but the streets weren't cleared for days.
Al Hewitt is mad. Records show Wilkes-Barre spent more than $1 million removing snow during the blizzard of 17.
I think somebody got ripped off. We did.
It was a tough storm to keep up with, but we responded as we thought we probably should.
Wilkes-Barre City Administrator Ted Wample says his city went all out to keep the streets clear. But our investigation finds that all-out effort came at a price. The final snow removal cost from the 3 largest area cities affected by the storm shows Wilkes-Barre spending almost as much as Scranton and Hazleton combined. The Scranton and Hazleton numbers are estimates from city officials.
I can't answer to what the other municipalities spent. I will tell you that the city responded with all the resources that we could possibly gather to fight this kind of a storm.
I want to know where that money went.
Records show it went to private contractors. Wilkes-Barre spent more than twice as much than Scranton for outside help. 3 private companies received a total of $601,000. Our investigation finds all cities paid the same per-hour rate to contractors, but Wilkes-Barre had more, working more hours to clear the streets during the blizzard of 17.
I think they did an excellent job.
Nancy Evans is a music teacher who also plays the organ at churches in both Wilkes-Barre and Scranton. She says only Wilkes-Barre kept its main roads clear right after the storm.
I also work in Scranton. I have a church in Scranton that I play for, and they did not. I had a really hard time just getting to that church for 2 Sundays in a row.
But in the Miners Mills section of Wilkes-Barre, did the city get its money's worth?
Absolutely not.
Mike Murphy talks about returning from Philadelphia hours before the storm.
The snow actually wasn't even removed from the main street, let alone any of the side streets here, until well after 3-4 days after I got back.
Diana Middaugh thinks her city could have spent less.
No, they had to pull everybody in, and then the money start.
Wampel says there's another number people in Wilkes-Barre should focus on: 0. The number of deaths related to the storm, Wampel says, because roads were kept open for ambulances to get people to the hospital.
I think to do it all over again, we would probably respond the same way. Of course, it's in the back of your mind. I think the next time is, what happens, do we do anything different, knowing that there may be a possibility we don't get reimbursed. We can't run up $1 million tab again.
Wilkes-Barre plans to pay this $1 million tab with its windfall of income and real estate sale taxes. But if there is a next time, could the city do the job for less?
We can second guess that all day long. Have at it. You've got to weigh safety and security against what it's going to do to our budget, and we felt that safety and security was the most important thing, and we would make that same decision again.
A number of Wilkes-Barre officials say the focus should be on the federal government's formula that left all area counties receiving no reimbursement for snow removal. Governments in 8 counties expected a 75% reimbursement, which would have made snow removal in Wilkes-Barre and many other communities more affordable. Dave Bohman, Newswatch 16.
Officials still do not know what caused yesterday's fire at the former Penn Hills Resort in Monroe County. The fire gutted the main office building at the old Honeymoon Resort that shut down in 2009. This drone video from a viewer shows how the building was filled with flames when firefighters from Stroud Township battled the blaze along Route 447 in Analomink. This is the 3rd fire in 4 years at the abandoned resort, and some who live nearby say the buildings at Penn Hills need to be knocked down. Newswatch 16 investigative reporter Dave Bohman is live in our newsroom with more on that. Dave.
Scott, firefighters call the old resort a safety hazard. Neighbors call it an eyesore. And most people nearby say the decaying buildings need to be torn down. Charred wood covers the former resort's property the day after fire destroyed its main building.
One of our concerns was it was going to burn into the woods.
Scott Reichert's son-in-law owns land bordering the old resort. And Reichert witnessed yesterday's fire, another fire here in June 2016, and a fire set by someone here in July 2014.
Oh, they got to bulldoze this now.
When a group of New York investors bought Penn Hills 2 years ago, they promised to restore this resort. But they never started, and they sold it in May. Even the buildings at the old resort that still stand have been vandalized. They're rotting and dilapidated. Inside, the rooms have been trashed. You can see broken glass, broken mirrors, wood panels all over the rooms. It's hard to believe these will ever be honeymoon suites again.
It's all needs to go.
Robin Orsargos is a realtor in Stroudsburg, concerned that the mess leaves a bad first impression.
They're visiting and they drive by this and, it looks bad.
Stroud Township firefighters spent the day cleaning up after the fire, and they fear it won't be the last.
It has the potential to happen again as long as the building is there.
When Newswatch 16 tried to find out if Stroud Township leaders will press for a cleanup of the Penn Hills property, Township Supervisor Darrell Epley said he was too busy to talk.
This was beautiful.
Scott Reichert says the beauty is gone, but fears the buildings will not be torn down soon.
To get rid of all the debris and everything, oh my God, it would take millions.
The former resort was sold from one New York investment group to another in May. We tried to reach the current owners, PFA Resort and Hotels, but that company does not have a listed phone, and the names of its principal owners are not on the property deed. Dave Bohman, Newswatch 16.
A Scranton City Council member wants the state's Ethics Commission to look into a deal, one that will allow a city worker to lease a building in Naog Park and operate it as a coffee house. Newswatch 16 investigative reporter Dave Bohman is in our newsroom to flesh out this developing story. Dave.
Scott, let me read directly from Scranton's ethics law. It reads, quote, "No employee of the municipal government shall use any public property for personal benefit or profit." A city department head plans to turn this public property into a private business. specifically a gourmet coffee house. Scranton City Licensing, Inspection, and Codes Manager Pat Hinton signed a 10-year lease on this building. The proposed coffee house sits just across the street from Geisinger Community Medical Center on the southeast corner of Naog Park. The building has sat empty for decades. It was last used to house restrooms. The 10-year lease Hinton signed with the Scranton Municipal Recreation Authority gives him 2 years rent-free, then he pays $750 every 3 months. That's $250 a month rent. An authority official tells Newswatch 16 the board approved the lease because the building right now sits idle. But Scranton Council member Bill Gaughan calls it a sweetheart deal for a city department head who supervises people who inspect buildings.
It degrades the public confidence in elected officials and public employees, because when they look at this, they think, there they go again. There goes the city of Scranton giving a favor or giving an extra bump to a city employee.
In an email to Newswatch 16 this afternoon, the solicitor of the Recreation Authority released his statement. Regarding ethical considerations, the board required that a request for proposal should be published. The only proposal received was that of Mr. Hinton. It is my belief that the procedure that was followed should alleviate any concern of ethical misconduct. But Councilman Gaughan says there is nothing in the city's ethics law that allows a competitive bid to substitute the city of Scranton's conflict of interest rules. In the meantime, city licensing, inspection, and code enforcement officer Pat Hinton did not return our phone calls. Dave Bohman, Newswatch 16.
I'm Scott Schaefer.
And I'm Charlotte McBride. Imagine spending your life savings on a dream home only to have a very difficult time just getting to the place.
That's the situation Newswatch 16 investigative reporter Dave Bohman found in one upscale Luzerne County community. Dave is here now with more on the homeowner's dilemma.
Scott, Charlotte, Quail Hill homeowners are crying for help. They say they need more than pothole repair. They need new permanent roads because the temporary ones are falling apart.
So watch now, he'll just try to maneuver around these potholes and try not to get swallowed up.
Rich Hansen is one of many homeowners at the Quail Hill subdivision near Pittston who say walking can be safer than driving.
You have to literally drive to the other side of the road into oncoming traffic to avoid these holes.
I actually have to drive on the opposite side of the road to come up here to avoid every hole.
You know, we can't even enjoy our own community because we can't use the roads.
There's many times I've had cars coming through and end up in my yard.
They watch school buses try to steer around potholes, and they warn of manhole covers jutting several inches above the crumbling blacktop where tires get slashed.
And they're getting deeper and worse.
If you're ever up here at night, it's pitch black.
They claim the developer of the Quail Hill neighborhood promised, then failed to put in most of the planned streetlights that might help them see potholes at night. These roads were actually built as temporary streets more than 15 years ago. They were designed to bring construction equipment to build these $500,000 homes.
This part of the road is eroded so much, it's not even a road anymore.
So who's responsible to fix the problems? Right now, the road's technically owned by the estate of the developer. He died in 2012.
This is how it was envisioned.
Jonathan Comets is the court-appointed executor. He says the estate does not have the money to rebuild the roads and put up more lights. But he says a new group of developers might offer hope.
I have met with developers, I have reached out to developers, and there is some interest in this.
Interest, but Comets adds no commitments. Homeowners say the original developer planned to transfer ownership of the roads to the 3 communities that make up Quail Hill. Half the homes in this development are in Pittston Township, but a boundary line runs through Quail Hill. Half of the homes are in DuPont, and part of the pockmarked road is in Avoca.
There was never a promise by Pittston Township that they would take those roads over and conduct these kind of repairs.
Sam Sangladucci's law office represents Pittston Township. He says all 3 communities that make up Quail Hill are not responsible for taking over the roads because the developer didn't finish the job.
This is not like an inexpensive project. This project, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars.
If they don't fix it, we are going to court.
Attorney Jason Mattioli represents Quail Hill homeowners, and he owns a home in the subdivision himself. He says the communities failed several years ago to get the developer to post a bond that would have left enough money to finish the job.
They have to pay for this. It was their mistake. They let this go.
After Newswatch 16 started asking questions, a road crew from Pittston Township patched potholes on Quail Hill. It's a fix homeowners call temporary.
This road will continue to erode in.
Now, if a developer can ultimately sell some of those empty lots here, the executor of the estate says it would still take at least 18 months to raise any money towards new roads. But for now, raising that money that way may be the best hope of building a permanent road and ending the quagmire at Quail Hill. Dave Bohman, Newswatch 16.
All right, Dave, thank you.
Where Commissioner O'Malley once worked as a corrections officer. Are you potentially a target of this? I mean, it's not every day that your offices get raided and computers get seized. I'm just wondering what you think of that. Commissioner, can't you give us something? I mean, we're talking about raids on your offices. We're talking about the prison and the work release program. Can't you tell us anything about it?
There's a statement coming from communications. I can't speak about HR stuff.